Lesson 8.5 is about slope-intercept form. We have an equation in slope-intercept form when it looks like this: y equals mx plus b. M is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Here is an example. Y equals 2x plus 5. This equation has a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of 5. If we wanted to graph it, we could first plot the y-intercept, which would be right here. Next, we can use the slope to find our second point. 2 as a fraction is 2 over 1. We know slope is rise over run, so our rise is 2 and our run is 1. If we start from our dot and run 1 and rise 2, we find our second dot. Once we have 2 dots, we can make our line. Slope-intercept form always has the y alone, it has an x term, and it has a constant term. Notice the x term goes before the constant term, and that the slope comes from the x term and the y-intercept comes from the constant term. Now let's take a graph of a perfectly straight line and turn it into an equation. First, we know that our equation will look something like this. Once we find our slope, we'll put it in as m, and once we find our intercept, we'll put it in as b. This line crosses at -2, so our y-intercept is -2. From one dot to the other, we have a run of 1 and a rise of 5. So the rise over the run will be 5 over 1. So the slope is 5 over 1, or just 5. So we can plug that in where the m is. So this line on our graph must have the equation y equals 5x minus 2, because it has a slope of 5 and a y-intercept of -2.